if we listed the accolades of the two women who are here with us right now, we would be here for the rest of the day. But what I will say is both of them have changed football forever and changed the NFL forever and blazed trails for all of us. So I'm sitting here with two amazing women. I honestly can't believe it, but please welcome Andrea Kremer and Amy Trask to the pod. Thank you so much for being here, both of you.
Thank you for having us.
This is
Love
great.
following along with your work. Love listening, and it's a treat to be here with you.
It's a treat to have you both here. I mean, and change journalism as well, just as a whole.
Everything.
And can I say to you, you know this, finally.
Oh, thank you. Make me emotional at the beginning of the pod. But no,
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for doing this. And
Thank you.
You've been pursuing this kind of work, and I have a lot of admiration for you.
Thank you so much. And I know that, and I have cherished it from the moment that we met.
But this is my girl. So wait, speaking of meeting, all right, let's get it over with.
Okay. So first of all, you mentioned I'll let you talk about when you mentioned that she's a journalist.
We're taking over the conversation. Oh my God!
Take it over.
Look out.
Come on, take it over.
It's been a long day.
Well,
I'm here
you said
for
how
it.
cold you were.
So I'm with the Raider organization. Andrea is a journalist in the truest and best sense of the word.
Excuse me. She's with the Raider organization, the highest ranking woman in the NFL. Oh,
That
by the
part.
way. Okay?
My husband and I are watching Andrea deliver news on television. And he looks at me and says, "Do not ever let her interview you. She will make you cry." Because she's so good at what she does. She'd have all these players on and they would just be sobbing. And so my husband's like, "Don't let her interview you. She'll make you cry."
Well, Amy and I met. We joke about it now, but I don't think it really was a laughing matter back in 1989. We were 10, of course, in 1989, right?
I laughed.
We met at an NFL owners meetings, Amy representing the Raiders and me, one of the journalists covering it. And we met in the restroom. We met in the ladies' room where...
Well, we were the only women there. I was the only woman at the NFL owners meeting. Andrea was the only woman in the area where the media waited to cover the owners meeting. And we both went to the restroom on a break. And I looked at her and I said, "Well, there's no line."
Yeah. And that sort of tells you what it was like when we were both really kind of breaking in.
It's funny, but it's not funny. You
Yeah.
know, it's a good joke, but it's also just very disheartening. But I think it also just proves how instrumental you both have been, also how instrumental so many women on this cast have been in making sure that we don't have to make that same joke.
And the reason we can laugh about it now is because there has been so much progress.
Yeah.
Now, I don't, people ask me all the time, are you excited? Are you pleased to see that there's more women now involved in the NFL than during any of your years? And I say, well, sure. But what's going to really be exciting is when things like that aren't newsworthy. Every time a woman is hired, I get that phone call from the press. Are you excited? And my answer is, sure. But what's going to really excite me is when you're no longer calling me to ask me if I'm excited, because it's just the norm that people are hired without regard to race or gender or ethnicity or any other individuality, which has no bearing on whether one can do a job.
Right. And then ironically, so Amy gets those calls. You know the calls I get? Whenever there's anything that happens with a female journalist.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of times those aren't always the most positive things. And they call me for my response. And my response is probably as rote as yours, which is people are entitled to their opinions, but we're not going away. The genie ain't going back in that bottle. Female journalists, people working in and around the NFL are here to stay, and people have to deal with it. So, Amy's always said that. She's always felt really strongly that she didn't want to be singled out for that. The man who hired her was renowned. I mean, that's part of his legacy, is hiring the first female chief executive of a team, the first African-American head coach, the first Latino head coach. These things aren't coincidences, and he hired the best people, and they just happen to be of different races, genders, and ethnicities. But I think today, there still is an emphasis on those things because the numbers aren't equitable yet. But hopefully we're making progress there.
Well, and the example I use when I'm talking, particularly to young people, Apollo 13, when those men were up in space And there was a problem with Apollo 13, and I don't know if you saw the movie, but there's a scene where Ed Harris plays the character who walks into a room at NASA, and he dumps a bucket of bolts and pieces and parts on the table. And there's a team of people assembled around the table. And he says, using just these pieces and parts, because that's what they have up there, find a way to get them back to Earth. Do you think anyone on Apollo 13 gave a damn what the race or gender or religion or ethnicity of anyone around that table was? Right. They just wanted to get home alive.
Right, and so if we're talking pop culture, one of my favorite movies is Hidden Figures. Right?
Oh, great movie.
Right,
Great
amazing.
Yeah.
And
Great movie.
It's the same type of thing. All right, let's let them talk because it's their podcast.
No,
we have now just taken over.
We're really bad.
We're here to celebrate 10 years of We Need to Talk. I mean, just a pioneer of a show, a historic show for so many different reasons. And you have seen more than 10 years change in this industry, but specifically about this show. What is the biggest thing that stands out to you that has changed the most, that you're most proud of lending your voice and your career and your time and your dedication to?
Well, whether it's Amy and I, or Leslie Visser and Amy and I, or whatever coupling you want to use, we've always talked about sports.
Yeah.
We'll get on these calls and we'll have these, we'll be breaking stuff down, man. I mean, we're talking X's and O's, we're talking business, we're talking personalities, we're talking a little gossip every now and then. But we're talking sports, we're talking ball.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, and Leslie and I always used to say, gosh, why isn't there The View for sports? Because The View was the template, right, for an all-women sports show. And suddenly it happened. And so I like to say these are conversations we've always had. It's just that now these cameras are here and they get to capture it. Do you remember that first show? It was so emotional. Looking at all these women, all superstars, none who act that way. Everybody in their own right is at the top of their game, their profession, and they're Hall of Famers, they're NCAA champions, they're Olympic champions. It was unbelievable looking around, and we're all just together on this even playing field. And then all the women in that control room. I just remember feeling really emotional about how historic it was.
Well, I've long believed that the very best people do all they can to help others be their best. And I think that's a very big tell about someone. Are you doing everything you can to help those with whom you work, those with whom you interact? Are you helping them be their best? And I will echo what Andrea said and say that everyone off camera, behind the camera, on camera, in executive roles at CBS Sports, everyone has done what the best people do, trying to help others be their best. And CBS Sports and Tyler Hale deserve all the credit in the world, not only for envisioning this show, but for putting in the equity and the sweat equity, all of the equity to making it a reality. They could have done it just sort of as an ephemeral little, let's try it for a year. This is the 10th anniversary, as you noted, and CBS Sports and Tyler Hale's commitment to this show has been just absolutely phenomenal.
Well, you talk about equity, not to cut you off, but you talk about equity and all the equity that we put in these 10 years. What do you want to see in the next 10?
Well, one thing, to that exact point, this is where I was going. One thing that I do want to see more of, and maybe this is more philosophical than anything, but when anything happens in the sports pantheon, not just women's sport, anything, I want people to say, I wonder what the women of We Need to Talk have to say. I want us to be the female voices of record. I know you don't like the female-male dichotomies split out in that way, but you know, I don't mean this, okay, I mean this in a little bit of a snarky way. I look at all these shows and they are what I call the networks of screaming men.
I love snarky, Andrea.
There you go. And don't be like Mike
I'm
Pereira.
sorry.
Don't be like Brady. Don't be like Brady and Mike Pereira.
I didn't see. You know, the show is named We Need to Talk.
Right.
Well, we are talking. You know what? Maybe at some point we need to go over to one of those signs that say we need to talk and take a big marker and write, oh no, we're talking.
No matter if
we're
you want
talking.
it or not. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, I'm being somewhat silly about that, but the fact is CBS Sports has created a platform where we are talking. it was named We Need to Talk, and you know what? We've been talking.
And the funny thing is, remember when they wanted to try to change the name of the show, and
No.
they wanted to change the name of the show, they were thinking of rebranding and things of that nature, and there were maybe 20 or so different titles out there, and we stayed with We Need to Talk because, I mean, there is a double entendre there, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you've ever been with your partner or something like that, and
it's never a good
and
thing.
the woman goes, we need to talk about this. And you know, that type of thing.
Well, wait, it's the other way too sometimes. Where the partner that wants to break up with the other partner says,
that too.
We need to, yeah.
So it's a little, I mean, describe
now we're turning into Call Me Daddy. No.
Describe this 10-year window in one word.
The 10-year window of We Need to Talk?
Not just of the show, but of this industry, women in this industry. Explain that or describe that in just one word. What's the first word that comes to mind? Or multiple words.
I will use 2 words. The issue you just raised, the difference between when I joined the National Football League, and Andrea started her career, and now has been a seismic shift. And again, what's going to be truly exciting is when people are, as I said earlier, hired without regard to race or gender or any other individuality, which has no bearing on whether one can do a job. But the difference between when we started our careers and now, if you wanted me to give you 2 words, would be seismic shift. When I went to my first league owners meeting, I was the only woman in that room, and that was the case for many years. Well, now you've got a female, and I think the title is president or chief executive officer, I'm not sure which, in Carolina, and a woman who's a president in Las Vegas, and you've got women coaching on the field. Jeannie Bonk with the Chargers is a huge role there. CFO and COO, I believe. My point being, there has been a lot of movement. Is it enough? No, it's going to be enough when it's no longer a topic of discussion.
By the way, she always chafes when I say this. That's my preamble to you to start.
This is like when she's telling me I should start like curling up in a little ball.
No, she chafes when I say this, but I used to say to her, not jokingly, that if she was more involved in the football side of things and not just the business side of things, that maybe the Raiders wouldn't have lost as much as they did.
You should have seen Al's face when I said, you know what Andrea said?
No, but it's true. Because that is...
And she did say that to me, and it was
that
very
is one thing that I think that's significant because, yes, we have female coaches and scouts and GM, well, no GM yet. Assistant GMs, Kelly Klein in Denver, Catherine Raish in Cleveland. But a lot of the women are on the business side of things. Of course, there's always been women. Where did they always park? Back in the day, they always parked women in marketing and PR, right? Now we're seeing more women in the C-suites, which is great. But I want to see more women really on the football side of things. I think that is the next mark to cross. There's a young woman in Kansas City in the scouting department who is working her way up. Her name is Madison Aponte. Her mother happens to be the senior vice president of football operations for the National Football League. And let me tell you something, there isn't nepotism working there. This isn't any Nepo baby. Madison has really, really worked to earn that job and to earn her position. And that's what I want to see. I want to see more women on the football side of things, not just on the business side.
I love that.
I love that too. And I actually want to go back to the seismic shift that you talked about. You have both created a seismic shift for us and for many women out there. And I just want to say that to you. And I just want to thank you for giving us the time today to talk all about
that
this.
That just gave me goosebumps.
And all that you have done so that we didn't have to do it.
Goosebumps.
And I think that that's a big thing too, is that I think that you get so caught up sometimes in what you're doing and what's not working and what you don't have that you forget that it could have been a lot harder and a lot more difficult for you to even complain about those things if it weren't for the women that came before you. And both of you did that for us. So.
I don't know about you, but I never at that when we were
I want
the
to thank
only
them for that first. I
Go
just
ahead,
want to
thank
tell you
them.
how meaningful that was. What you said, it really did cover me in goosebumps. And you're doing the same thing for the next generation.
I appreciate
the two
that.
of you are.
Well, you're carrying the torch, so keep it up.
You definitely will.
No.
We're going to carry it.
But I think that I can't speak for you. And in fact, I'm not even sure we've ever talked about this, but at those times when we were the only, I never thought about it that way. But in retrospect, I think if I did think about it, I would have been, almost intimidated.
I didn't care.
I couldn't think about it that way.
I didn't care. People asked me if I thought about being the only woman in the room, and the answer was absolutely not. It never made sense to me. It still doesn't. That if I want to go into any room, any meeting, any business setting, and I don't want anyone else thinking about my gender, why am I thinking about my gender?
Buy Amy Trask's book. You'll learn all about it.
If I don't want anyone to think about my gender, then why the heck am I thinking about my gender? And by the way, if I'm in a room and other people are wasting their time focusing on the fact that I'm a woman, fine, let them waste their time. I'm not wasting mine.
And this conversation was certainly not a waste of time.
Not at all.
We're not done celebrating the two of you. I know we have a toast in just a little bit.
Yes, we do. And you're going to be there for that.
We're going to be there celebrating 10 years of this show, celebrating your amazing careers, your legacies, and all the work you have yet to do. So we'll see you in just a
I
little
like
bit.
that
And
idea.
you two are leading, and you two are leading now.
Right.
Well, thank you
so much.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like I said, I particularly for Alicia, just because I've known her longer.
Of course.
Just really proud of your pursuit, because that's what it takes. It definitely takes a pursuit, and just keep doing, growing, being challenged, and you are. We've handed the torch over, and
We can share it. You guys aren't done just yet.
I like that idea.
You're not done just yet.
Yeah, we're not done. We're not rolling us up.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.